Hello, everybody. It's Valor Swanson with CXC in the cloud, which is, customer experience in the cloud. And we're wrapping up a five-part series on the last two mini-series within the series. I'm excited for us to finally have gotten to this area of the series because we are trying to get to a point where we feel very confident and comfortable with taking all the knowledge from the previous shows and actually applying them to making a decision on which CCaaS provider you're going to maybe go with if you're in the market for one. And that comes from understanding the must-haves, which include, a omni-channel or channelless experience, a connected experience, and of course, an effortless experience. And then, basically how to build a business case associated with the benefits of those experiences and how they play into capacity management, channel mix, and the such. And then finally here, now we're at the place where we've been all been anticipating, which is, okay, let's get some guidance on exactly how do I decide which CCaaS provider to work with. And in fact, you can use these same points that we'll be discussing today and on next week's show to actually evaluate your current platform. In fact, what I would do is if I was running contact centers like I was back in the day, I would use the criteria of a CCaaS provider that you're looking to evaluate, and even apply that to your on-premise, so you can actually see the huge disparity and the ability of that technology to be utilized. So today's show, another kooky title here to kind of get you guys' attention, and it's the CCaaS courtroom. We're in the CCaaS courtroom, guys. I'm wearing a judge's robe, as you can see here. But anyway, it's be the judge. So we want you guys to be the judge. And next week, you guys will be the jury. So you're going to be the judge and the jury, and deciding exactly how you want to go forward with the CCaaS provider. So quickly, again, this is going to visual on what I was saying. Just kind of remind everybody visually where we're going through this entire journey. So the must-haves were there. Again, I'm showing you this now so you guys can go back and look at those videos, those blogs, and those vlogs and see exactly how we got to this point. And we're right over here now, actually on the last bit here, how to evaluate. Now, this is going to be, the reason this is two parts, because we want to break this into why it's important to understand how to evaluate a CCaaS provider. And then there's 14 key questions that we would like for you to take note of that you should put in your evaluation criteria. And then, of course, being in contact centers, I'm sure you're familiar with CSAT surveys and customer service and the whole methodology in the first place, so you can use whatever criteria you want, weighting scales, ranges between 1 to 10. Of course, you want to put commentary in there, so forth and so on, but whatever works. Now, in the next show, I will be talking a little bit about what the analysts are using, what criteria they use to decide who's going to be in the magic quadrant, and why that the criteria is also important to look at. Okay, so last week we were talking about how to build a CCaaS business case, and it was part 2 of that 2-part mini series in the series. And the title, of course, was how much does it cost to spend less? And the emphasis was that you can get caught up in this whole default answer of we don't have any money, we don't have any budget. And so back in the day when I was running my contact centers, I was in the same situation. Every year the money went down, it was 10% less, but at the same time being held accountable for increasing the customer base by 10%. So therein lies a little puzzle, a little Rubik's Cube that you have to be able to solve. And that comes in knowing the ROI comes from a change in your channel mix, that you're actually literally going to be spending less money. Because if you flip it and say, okay, what is the opportunity cost? Every month you haven't made that decision, you are spending more money. So when you say you don't have money, you're actually spending more money. So that means you do have the money if you're following me. So you really need to do some ROI research and actually present some multiple options to yourself as well as your stakeholders in the company so that they can see the light when it comes to CCaaS. So let's set the scene now on today's show. And what we're talking about here is obviously CCaaS and how it replaces a typical infrastructure associated with a bricks and mortar type environment. Software that can be deployed anywhere. It's internet based. Of course, you guys all know this. So anybody can log in from anywhere. Heck, if you wanted to, you could have a bunch of agents sat in parking decks taking calls. It doesn't matter. The show never stops with CCaaS. And this is just one simple, easy benefit of the flexibility and how accommodating it is because of the nature that it's delivered. Now, of course, all of that technology gets layered with additional technologies that are easily plugged in, which includes SMS support, instant messaging, video, social media, and basically any way possible that customer can get a hold of you. And what that what that means is that the maxim that we started off with this entire thing, which was the customer, based on surveying the customer, that they want to be able to get hold of you and having a very fast and efficient contact with you, so they can get in, one and done, and get out and get on with their day. In fact, we had a guest on the show several weeks ago that in reality, no call is a good call. Because remember, if they're calling you, you're starting off on the bad foot. They're calling you with a problem. They're calling you because they couldn't buy it themselves online. So as we said then, you have an opportunity then to take something that's potentially negative and screw it up even more. So it's really critical that you basically have a goal of 0 calls. I know that's impossible, but if you have that goal, you'll scrutinize everything so that if you put yourself in the customer's shoes, that how can we set this up? The customer literally does not have to call us. How can we make sure the process is literally make sure that the customer gets something and it's done? They're happy campers. The only thing you can do is reach out to them, see how they're doing, and if they need any additional help, or if they want to buy something else or expand the portfolio of things that they want to purchase from you. Now, so what's happening out there as it relates to CCaaS? So the factoids. I always like to give us factoids. So by 2022, the contact centers as a service are going to be the preferred option in 50% of all contact centers out there. Now, just think, the UK is there's 60 something million people here. America's at 300 and something million people. And contact centers aren't going anywhere. Now, when I say contact centers, I'm really talking about, obviously, within the COVID environment, the work from home environment. And that still is a contact center. Or maybe we should call them contact anti-centers. We did come up with a new clever name, but we all know when I'm saying contact centers, I'm talking about the place in space that's distributed that is the center of contact for your customers. So that's approximately up by 10%. And also, there's going to be additional emphasis on self-service. And by 2023, that's going to increase by 40%. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because the CCaaS platform is the only platform that's going to be able to provide you the flexibility to do that easily. It's either going to be on or it's going to be integrated through an API. So it's really critical that you get yourself in a situation with that. All right. So before deciding what you're going to do, okay, there are some things that are really, really critical for you to think about as it relates to what does this particular platform provide. And there are some things, of course, that you want to consider, which of course was when we were doing the ROI stuff, is also the total cost of ownership. Now, we really didn't get deep in that on the last show, but total cost of ownership is different than the ROI. ROI is, when is this thing going to start paying for itself? And the reason it pays for itself is because the total cost of that ownership, including any auxiliary folks in IT that might actually be called in for support, that you have to hire, get certified on all the different certifications on those different technologies, all that, and I don't mean this in a negative way, all that's eliminated. And all you're dealt with basically is the software itself and making sure that software, is on all the time so you can interact with your customers and not have any issues. So there's a huge reduction in cost of ownership. In fact, I think it's upwards of 50% reduction. I know that sounds pretty crazy, but take me to task. We will show you that we can actually reduce it by that much. Something on my lip here. What's going on here? All right. Anyway, the contact center, of course, is actually the place that 80% of all your contact with your customer comes through your contact center. 80%. So in one show, we talked about how the contact center is viewed upon as a necessary evil somehow by certain folks surveyed, and that's just sacrilege, because the reality is, if you think about it, 80% of the customers out there are reaching out to your company via your contact center. So your contact center will make or break your brand. And if they make or break your brand, then you obviously want to have something that's very reliable, that's easy for you to get in touch with your customers get in touch with you, but at the same time, flexible enough where you can have a bespoke or a custom, in a unique way of interacting with them. And because of chatbots and IVRs and speech-enabled IVRs, and the list goes on and on and on, you can truly make your experience that the customer that you provide the customer, very, 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 very unique, because of all these different things. So you also, so that's a flexibility bit right there. So also there has to be an issue where you can really have them demonstrate high quality voice. Okay. Now remember, if they're working from home, they're going in through that that agent's network, and they're actually having to be dependent upon the quality of service from where it goes from the broadband connection potentially into that laptop that you issued them. And does that cause any issues with voice? Because that's the last thing you want. Is you're a high-tech company, you're a huge brand, and there's dropping of calls because the agent's at home, and he's, it's not a good thing. So that's a very important area that you want to focus in on. And of course, the CCaaS providers support of security, another area of very high importance. Again, these aren't the questions. I'm going to give you guys the actual questions here in a little while, and they'll be in the blog listed as the first 7 of 14 questions. But I'm talking again about things that you need to think about. So if you're a good listener here or watcher, you'd have your pen and paper out and maybe jot some of these down in notes. But again, if you're not like me, you just wait until the blog comes out, and you'll have everything all typed up for you. Okay, so we're talking about voice quality. We're talking about security, and basically, does the contact center platform have contingent means of making sure that the companies, your organization's revenues, your profits are not compromised by it going down? So, for example, if the voice goes down, are the customers still being able to reach out to you via the web or whatever the other means, so that you can still continue to do business with them? You don't want to be in a situation where the whole thing's down and your whole company's gone radio silent because you've chosen a provider that is not flexible as it relates to how the omni-channel can turn into multi-channel during an emergency situation like that. Integrations, okay, this is critical as well. I used to be an agent. You guys have agents out there, and they're always talking about how wish management would improve and increase the spend on new technologies to make our jobs easier. And as soon as you go in there with a new screen or something brand new for them to fiddle with, they start complaining about how they like the old way. Oh, why can't we keep the same system that we used to use? So there's a middle ground here. And that's that you have, for example, Salesforce or Zendesk, and you can actually integrate that into the new CCaaS platform. And it's almost transparent to the agent. In fact, it just gets enhanced by the fact that it's sat behind the actual use, the technology that they're using day to day, Zendesk or the Salesforce. Okay, so how easy is that to integrate? Right, very important question. Right, you don't want them flogging a lot of professional services on you in order for that to occur, which of course goes against the whole grain of this thing being flexible and working right out of the box. That includes legacy databases, legacy infrastructure. Okay, can you connect to our green screens? I was in the contact center in the mid part of the UK, the large mobile phone company, and the screens were blue. And I said to them, why are these screens blue? And they were like, well, we didn't want to upgrade the CRM, so we went from green screens. If you guys remember that, we just changed green screens to blue screens, so everybody thought we had an upgrade. That's how cheap they were. So my point here is, can a CCaaS platform, if you're finally going to do the right thing and upgrade, connect to something as archaic as that? Speaking of archaic, the opposite end of that curve, of course, is going to be off-the-shelf integrations with various vendors out there that provide AI support or speech analytics or contact analytics, and how easily can those things get dialed up or turned up? Do they come out of the box? And these things right here, these more advanced and so-called merging technologies, those are really where you're going to get your bang for the buck, and that they are really going to change the channel mix and be able to anticipate why the customer is calling in so that you can address it in the field, process improvement, and of course, make sure that you're in a continuous improvement mode because you're using the data from some of this AI and some of these other emerging technologies to not only service the customer without them having to talk to an agent, but you're also using the data from that to improve the entire process in and of itself. So you want to make sure that these guys can navigate any pitfalls, or do they really understand these advanced technologies? How much is it outsourced to a third party? So you buy from company A, CCaaS company, and you ask the question, say, well, who's going to be installing this thing? Is it you guys? Okay, yeah, okay, you guys. Okay, so who's going to be doing the AI stuff? Is it you guys? What percentage of this is going to be outsourced? Because that's this is the last thing you want to do is you want to buy something from company X, and it's built by company Z or Z Z as they say here in the UK. Somebody that really is just turning it on, but doesn't understand the true philosophy or the power of the technology itself. Very important one, guys. And the last bit here, which I believe is the most important one, is questions about the integration of WFM, or new term here, WEM, Workforce Engagement Management, and how easily is that going to be tracking and providing feedback to your agents in an actionable manner so that you can improve the people aspect of the entire operation. So these are why you need to understand how to evaluate a CCaaS provider. These things right here I just mentioned, okay? And they're not listed even in my research because they are just general areas that you should be poking and prodding about when you're talking to the sales guy about what's going on. So again, it'll be in the blog. Everything I've said, the research that's been done will be there. So don't worry about notes. You're going to get that here in a day or so. Now, why is this important? Okay, and I'm going to just say one thing. The detail will be in the blog, but it's called cloud economics, and we touched upon it here earlier in the show today about TCO and the ability to reduce an ROI show about your cost per contact and being able to do more with less. Okay, cloud economics. You're becoming more efficient. You're getting better gas mileage out of your contact centers, and that is your job to do that, whilst improving the customer experience. Okay, it's a tough job, but the technologies out there can allow you to do that. And you want to make sure that you're picking somebody that makes the job of doing that even easier. Let's talk about the 14 questions here, okay? We're gonna roll out with that. We're gonna roll off the show to that into the next show. And basically, these are really, some of them are kind of basic, some of them are kind of like duh, okay? But they are true questions that you should be holding yourself accountable, as well as the potential vendor accountable, the provider accountable, and maybe in the RFP, you can lay out these questions. And so the first one, which of course, duh, is what features and functionality do you offer? Okay, and tell them you want the exhaustive list. You want the whole thing. You want to know what type of oil the tires are made out of. I mean, you want to know what's going on because you're going to do that to everybody that you're thinking about talking to. Do you have customer references to demonstrate that you're an expert in this area? Now, I'm going to tell you a little, insider secret here. That's where you find out who's a true CCaaS provider, is if they can demonstrate to you that company X is using our stuff and our stuff works. Don't talk to me, talk to them. So absolutely insist. This is number 2. Absolutely insist that you'd have a customer reference. Now, at the same time, there's a lot of CCaaS companies out there, and some of them, they might just getting started. So they might only have 1 or 2 or 3 out there. But if those people that are using it, 1, 2, or 3, because of where they are in their market growth, then take heed, take it to the heart. What these customers are saying, because they're not getting paid to tell you what's happening in the real world. Number 4, where are your service nodes geographically located? Okay, this has to do with reliability and the ability for latency and network reliance and all that stuff to be basically a hygiene factor that you don't have to worry about. 4, where's your platform hosted? Where is it hosted, man? A data center, public cloud? get the answers to that one. 5, how is your architecture deployed? Is it multi-tenant? Is it a multi instance? And in our for the sake of time, in our blog, we'll explain a little bit why that's important to understand the difference between those two and the impact of either one. If they said it's one or the other, and how that affects the technology itself. Now, they'll say, "Oh, we're up 99.9% of the time." In fact, some even say we're up 100% of the time. So get past that with question number 6 here, which is your architecture truly designed for high availability? And then grill them on, show me why it's designed for that. Not just that it is because of the past, but why is that? And number 7 out of our 14, because we're going to go into the other 7 next week, is what are your service level agreements? Can you provide a transparent and well-defined SLA for the platform? And what are the minimum availability requirements? And if something goes wrong, specifically, what do you do to make sure that every hour we're losing $20,000 an hour in sales because your platform went down that 0.001 time? What are they doing? What's the speed to make it available on average? And can they be held accountable for that? Okay, so big topic here, guys. We went through the general things that you need to think about and why. I mean, you are the face of your company. You're the door of the company. You're the glass window. You're the house. And you can't be putting some hokey pokey duct tape and chicken wire together and because you're trying to be cheap or reduce your costs through spending less costs on a quality set platform in order to do that. Because if that system goes down or customers can't get a hold of you, you're going to lose customers. Management is going to lose faith in you. So it's very important that you are very detail oriented as it relates to scrutinizing the client that the vendor that you're potentially thinking about using. So guys, here are the 3 takeaways. And wait a minute, I have my 3 takeaways hat today. It's been a while, so let's put this on for the sake of nostalgia here. All right, 3 takeaways. Know the CCaaS areas to evaluate. Okay, and get deep on each one as to why, and why you need or don't need something. If you don't want leather seats, don't buy leather seats. Okay, and also keep in mind too that anything that might be construed as leather seats or upgraded services actually is something that could provide a higher degree of ROI. So don't discount a higher spend, because you can actually have a higher spend per month per agent, but you'll actually be taking on more contacts. And then number 2 here is know how these features and functions impact your wider business, not just your contact center. Think about how these things affect field, logistics, marketing. Does marketing have access to the data in there as it relates to customer sentiment? Just think about that. And then the final one here is use standardized questions and scoring across all vendors. Don't cut any corners on this. Oh, I know Bobby and this platform, we used to work together, so we're not going to go hard on him. No, you're going to go hard on everybody with the same questions, same scoring mechanisms, and something that is very important too. Ask them if they're if you want to do this, I would highly recommend this. Give that vendor some feedback. If they were just horrible, spend about an hour going over with them, saying the reason we didn't pick you was because of these 5 reasons or whatever. Because what that does for the industry, it allows them to go back and actually fix and improve upon the challenges that they're having or the technology issues or the gaps that they are having and the reason why you didn't pick them. Okay, so guys, that's today's show. 23 minutes. Hopefully this helped you get on the right path to understand how to evaluate your next CCaaS provider. We'll be here next week to talk about part 2, which is the next 7 questions. And then also the good stuff, which is how the analysts actually analyze who goes into what quadrant. So until next week, guys, thanks for being on the show with me today. And we'll see you next week on Customer Experience in the Cloud, guys. Take care. Bye.